What's up, guys? Welcome back to episode number 7 on the video podcast here on the Blackwater channel. Today's podcast or video podcast episode is going to actually be kind of funny, but before we jump into that, I'll do a little recap of last week. First of all, this episode is brought to you by our sponsors, Nobody and Nobody, because when you only have 1,000 subs and only 10% of those people watch your videos, it's real tough to get those sponsorships. So we're still rolling out of the personal pocketbook, but that's okay because these are not very expensive to produce. Once again, I'm sitting in my truck, the fancy Blackwater YouTube studio that we have going on here. Last week, before I jump into this one, the recap from last week, I was getting ready to head to Oklahoma. I actually went to a hunt first, then came back, then went to Oklahoma. On the Oklahoma hunt, first day I filmed my buddy JJ with Unguided Outdoors, and we didn't get anything on that one. He had to run back towards Fort Worth where he lives, and so I got to hunt the next few days. The mistake I made was I only put up a pop-up blind on my spot. Scouting, using Onyx to scout worked perfect. Feeding the Megalo worked perfect. We had great pictures. That's where my target buck was. I told you guys about my target buck. That's where he was at. Put in a pop-up blind. None of the deer really cared about the pop-up blind. I mean, I could have shot 5,000 does and young bucks or small bucks, just stuff that wasn't my target. And I'm real particular when it comes to that. When I get my sight set on one, unless some giant bigger than him comes out, I stick to that buck. I am not... if it's a situation where my freezer's already full and I'm after this one particular buck for this one story, I'm not just going to fling arrows to fling arrows. So, I did do that on a pig one time. I did kill a pig this weekend, but I did not film that, but I did kill him and continued hunting that buck. I had the buck, my target buck. I saw him one evening, at 92 yards. He was headed my way. I already had 4, 5, 6 deer in there on the Megalo eating 18 to 20 yards away from me. He's coming in at 92, walking the same path those other deer walked. All of a sudden, you hear the sound you don't want to hear if you hunt in Texas, but apparently in Oklahoma too, just a bunch of, here comes the pigs, right? Look like Moses parting the Red Sea. Pigs just flying in from behind me. All you heard was leaves going everywhere. They run in, the deer freak out, blow at them, run one way. The pigs freak out because the deer run. One of the deer hit the fence when he was trying to jump over it. He hits the fence, makes a bunch of noise. The pigs freak out. The pigs go that way. There I sit, left with nothing else to shoot for the rest of the evening. My target buck just checks up and goes the other way. Next morning, got these little bucks that are coming in, a 3-point and a 5-point, and a little, 2-year-old 8-point who's going to be a great deer. He was really pretty. But they come in, and this is October the 2nd, right? And they're, checking up on does. All right, I mean, they're pushing does around. They're grunting. One of them's panting like my daggum dog. And they're just going back and forth around this. The 8-point goes over, right? So where I'm hunting, I wish I had something where I could show you. But where I'm hunting, I'm using a natural, funnel that's coming off this hillside. And then there's a man-made barbed wire fence right there to keep the cows out of this other section. And so it makes a perfect little funnel for these deer to pass. So that's where I'm set up at. The fence is 30 yards from me. I got the Megalo set up at 20. The deer are eating anywhere from 18 to 23. So this little 8-point buck, he's checking these does or whatever. He goes underneath the fence. There's a T right there at the fence. So I got one coming this way. I got one going this way. They're perpendicular to each other. He goes under the fence, and there's another tree hanging off the vertical facing fence. It's just hanging over. Well, he starts licking the tree and just going to town on pawing it up to make himself a scrape, right? So I'm watching that thinking, that's stupid. That's pretty funny that it's happening. It's a blast to watch and hear those sounds and just watch deer work. But watching him for a second, he comes back through the fence, and I'm just watching these deer, and I got my blind at a hard angle, right? Because I don't like to stick out like a sore thumb. So I use one window there. Actually, I had 2 windows open, but both the 2 vertical ones that are side by side with the little split bar in between. And I sit on this far left side so that if I fidget, nothing can see me. And then I can just kind of peek out, or I can use my camera and flip the side piece open on my camera and have it facing there, and then I can see what's out there eating. So if a big buck steps in, I can draw back, lean out, wham, smack him. So I'm watching that, and these deer are having fun, and I'm getting a kick out of it. And I look to my right through that right window. Something catches my eye, and there is just a banger, giant 9-point buck. Huge. Okay? So I am geared out at this point, right? I already clipped the release on. I got the camera facing the megalo where the other deer are. My thing is, this deer's in here eating on or licking on this branch that the little buck just licked on. He's pawing at the scrape now that the little buck just pawed out, and I'm thinking he's going to come right through this fence, and he is going to show all these deer who's boss. And he did not. Okay? And so he was at 31 yards, right? And y'all saw in some of my, if you follow any of my Instagram, I was smacking the target at 115 in a 4-inch group. And so 31, I was pumped up about. Unfortunately, I got like these little group of bushes out the right side of the window, and then I've got this perpendicular fence right there. So if I tried to squeeze it through there, I got to find a hole through the brush, and then I've got to have his vitals in between two fences crossing. And I ain't Annie Oakley, son. That just wasn't going to happen. So I was waiting on him to come through, or at least step away from that one and out into a clearing where I could go through just 4 strands of barbed wire instead of 8 and some brush. Unfortunately, he followed that vertical fence line directly away from me, right down into a creek bottom. And that was my only opportunity. The reason I say I'm kicking myself in the butt for just doing the pop-up and not putting up a tree stand too is because if I would have been, even if I would have been 6-8 feet up in the air, right, which is nothing, I would have been over the brush, over the fence line, and I would have been showing you guys some pictures and some videos of an awesome buck that was at the taxidermist right now, and I'd be talking to y'all with a whitetail backstrap sandwich in my mouth. But I'm not, because I limited myself, which is a whole nother podcast that we'll get into one day, about why you should and shouldn't, limit yourself when you're hunting in certain situations. But today, and congratulations to Ryan Boatner of Unguided. He sat in a tree, way up in the tree, and he smoked himself a really, really nice, it was a 9-point also because it had a little crab claw, but just a mainframe 8 that was a beautiful deer, hard quartering away, and Ryan made an awesome shot on it. The deer only went 40 yards into the woods, and we were able to recover that, and he got the whole thing on film. So if you guys aren't subscribed to the Unguided Outdoors channel, y'all should check that out. They do some really, really good work over there, and Ryan Boatner also does the videoing and the editing of those, and he does a great job on the production of that stuff. So if you're looking to not hear somebody blabber as much as myself, but would like to watch some really cool footage, they have some really cool footage over there. It's Unguided Outdoors. It's on the YouTube channel. They got like 30,000 subs now, so you guys go check them out. Today's podcast, videocast topic, we got to come up with a word for that because it's starting to really bug me that I have to say both words both times, or every time I say that. But it is on the topic of what smells ruin a deer hunt. Okay, and there's a super simple solution that I could throw out there right now that we'll get into later, but it's kind of a funny subject when you go into it. But what smells ruin a deer hunt? People ask this question all the time, right? You got to remember that I outfit for a living, so I get to see tons of different clients, and everybody has a lot of the same questions. Some people have some really good, interesting, different questions, but a lot of them are the same. A lot of them have to do with scent. Do you use scent spray? What about scent lock clothing? Blah, 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 the whole 9 yards. Ozonics, everything, right? And everybody is a hardcore believer in something and doesn't think something else works, and then you ask the next guy and he thinks that product really works great, but the thing that the other guy thought worked great does not work at all. So it's kind of just a conglomeration of BS when it all comes down to it. But in specific situations or specific questions, we can run through a few of those, starting with one of the number one questions: can I pee around my blind? The answer to that from me, which, granted, remember, somebody else will have a different opinion, but in all the hunting I've done and guided over the years, which I started doing this when I was 14 years old, and I'm 34 this year, so that's 20 years of compiling data for a nerd like myself. But in all of that together, I have never seen human urine affect a deer hunt. Okay, and I've tested this stuff out. I've put corn out and peed right by it. I've peed by feeders. I've peed right in front of a trail camera. Heck, this weekend, I had to pee so bad because I was just chugging water in there because at one point it was super hot in the blind and I had on a Duckworth merino wool black thing trying to stay hidden in there, and I was just pounding water and I had to pee so bad. I had deer eating, like one of them was 8 or 10 yards in front of me. Probably more like 12. The other one was at 18 eating out there. And I just kind of turned sideways in my chair and peed in my blind, in the back corner of my blind. I didn't want to stand up because, you know, the whole visual thing of deer seeing you move around in there, I'm sure that would definitely spook them. But I figured they hear pee sounds all the time, and I know the smell doesn't affect them from what I've researched over the years or just been a part of over the years. So I peed right in the blind. The deer never even checked up. They continued eating until they were done eating and walked off. My theory behind it is, and let me tell you this real quick. I heard a story one time. I don't remember if it was a guy that worked for me or a client telling me this, but they knew some people that went up into the mountains. I can't remember if they were hunting mule deer or elk, but it was public land or BLM land, something like that. They were up in the mountains. They were hunting, and they made a pact. Hey, let's all, go to the bathroom in the same spot so that we're not, peeing all over the place or crapping all over the place. And let's just do it all in one spot so that we know to stay out of that one spot and it doesn't affect a bunch of different spots. So they did that. And one guy, when he went back up there to pee, he noticed it looked like something had been messing with it up there. So he laughed about it, and they put a trail camera up there. And lo and behold, there was mule deer and a few different other animals that were coming in there and licking their pee spot, right? Theory behind that would be is that you have a lot of minerals and vitamins and salt that you excrete through your urine. So for animals in an area that doesn't have a lot of salt at certain elevations or minerals at certain elevations in the soil, you go in there and you make you a little pee pile and everybody's peeing in the same spot. You've just created a salt lick pretty much. So there was that theory. In my theory, your urine does not affect the animals in any way, shape, or form. Okay? They all pee. I can probably promise you this, right? One, you have to remember that although there are some situations or cases in the human world that I would disagree with this, for the most part, humans are smarter than animals and do have the ability to process things, and sometimes we trick ourselves by being a little too smart. But if you went into the woods, let's say here in Texas, for example, and you collected a bunch of urine samples, human, whitetail, wild pig, cow, and coyote, and you put them all in jars and did the Pepsi challenge, I promise you that without doing some scientific stuff on there and breaking it down, it would be extremely tough to tell which was which. Same thing for the deer. They can't tell. All right, so that's my deal. Peeing in the woods doesn't affect it. It's natural. Everything pees in the woods. Pooping in the woods. All right, this is a problem too. Right? Everybody has been in the situation where you get out to the blind, and as soon as you get to the blind or the tree stand or wherever you're in, boom, the bubble gut hits you. Okay? It's a funny topic. People don't like talking about this a lot. Guys will talk about it all the time at camp. Women are scared to talk about it. Doesn't matter. Everybody poops, and you get to the blind sometimes, and it happens, and you get the bubble gut. Will that affect your hunt for the deer? Same situation. In my opinion, no, it won't. Everything in the woods takes a crap. It happens. Okay? Pigs, human, coyote, deer, cows, they're all doing it. 24/7, something is pooping in the woods. They all stink. All right? If you're a human, you eat meat, just like pigs do, just like coyotes do. You eat vegetables and fruits, just like deer do, just like cows do. It's all going to run the same course. It's all going to smell this or that way, all right? If you're a human, I guess you could be a vegetarian. If that's the case, I don't know why you're really out there hunting, unless at one time you got bit by a Lone Star tick and now you can't eat meat, but you still like to hunt and share the meat. I guess that's a situation that could happen in. But if you are a vegetarian, okay, you're still in the ballpark of pooping like a deer. So it doesn't matter. We all eat the same type of stuff one way or the other. It's all going to smell the same. I would advise you, one, if the wind's, depending on where the wind is, I would definitely, poop away from your blind in that instance, because the last thing you would want to do as far as ruining a hunt, this might ruin a hunt if you have to sit in the blind and smell your own poop for 4 or 5 hours while you're hunting. So I don't think the animals are going to care about that, but you as a human smelling your own feces for 4 or 5 hours, that might get to you. So that's the only way I could see that ruining your hunt. Or if you got deer in front of you, you get out of the blind to go poop, and the deer watch you get out of the blind, yes, that's going to ruin your hunt. But just the smell alone, I don't think you have to worry about that from a sense standpoint as far as animals. The third one that gets brought up all the time, and I know these are, mainly bodily scents, but it's what people fight about constantly in our lodges and arguments, and it's funny just listening to them. The third one is farting in your blind or in a tree stand. You and Billy go out that night, you have a couple drinks, you eat a bunch of food, you go hunt together, and the next morning, Billy's in the blind, he gets the rumbles, and he lets a big one go in the blind. You're immediately ticked off, right? Because now you're thinking, way to go, jackwagon. Everything out here is going to smell that. Nothing's going to come in now. Take a step back and realize, how many times have you been at your house with your dog and your dog farted and it smelled horrible? That happens to everybody. Everybody knows that dog farts smell horrible. Well, that's what coyotes do. That's what pigs do. That's what cows do. Cows fart so bad that the liberals think that they are destroying the ozone, right? Cows fart so bad and so much that supposedly they cause global warming. Deer are always hanging out around cows somewhere. Deer fart too, okay? And if you want to bring in vegetarians fart too, and they are the worst smelling, you know what I mean? They get all hip and just go to the strict vegetarian diet, and you know it because they tell you about it, and they do all that so they can look better in a swimsuit later on in the year. And it's a proven fact that vegetarians are the smelliest people on the planet when it comes to flatulence. And so that's what all your vegetarian deer do too. Everybody eats the same stuff. Everybody farts the same. The smell of the fart is not going to ruin your hunt. This is a crazy topic. It's even tough for me to talk about sometimes, and I'm keeping a pretty straight face about that. If somebody's just listening to this, you won't be able to tell. But if you're watching this, I go ahead and hit the thumbs up button that I have kept a straight face and have not gone in to hysterical laughter yet while trying to be serious about this. Because it's extremely difficult to do that, right? Everybody laughs at farts and poop jokes. Although I haven't told a joke, but you get where I'm going. Those three things: peeing, pooping, farting, in the blind, around the blind, in the woods. I do not believe that's going to affect you because they are natural smells. So I think you can scratch those off your list and not worry anymore if that's going to harm you. On the flip side, if you do something like get gas on your hand at the gas pump in the morning, hug your wife in your camos before you leave in the morning and get her perfume on you somehow, rub your air freshener in your truck that smells like whatever, pina colada or something weird like that. Any of those things that you do that is an unnatural smell that you bring into the woods 100% will affect your hunt. Because when you bring a new substance or sniffer molecules into the woods for stuff to smell, and they go, wow, I come here every day, twice a day, and I've never smelled that smell. Something must be up. And that, my friends, is what I think is the key to smells and what ruins and doesn't ruin your hunt. If it is a natural smell, I do not think you will be affected by that smell in the hunt. Okay? If it is an unnatural smell, I do believe you will be affected by that smell during your hunt. There are some things that, you're going to be wearing stuff that's unnatural, that you do need to, if there's a chance that the wind is not in your favor, you do need to spray down or use something. Like I said, you can go down to one of the first videos I did on the scent test. I believe in Code Blue. I think the Code Blue stuff actually works. I put that up against 6 other things smelling fox piss, and the Code Blue was the only thing that actually worked. I think that is a good idea, from your boots to, because you're walking all over different kind of smells. So from your boots to your clothing, a lot of guys every year bust out brand new clothing, and that stuff has been from warehouse to warehouse to on a truck to in a box to in your living room to opened up. That kind of stuff does need to be sprayed down. There's a lot of chance for unnatural smells there. A lot of people talk about your breath. If you think that a coyote or a pig or a deer, for that matter, they don't ever brush their teeth, they chew on stuff, they lick their butts, they do it. If you think they don't have bad breath, I think you're crazy. So I've never been super worried about your breath. I do think you have to worry more about if you're using some kind of crazy cinnamon orange flavored toothpaste in the morning and blow that out there, that, that might affect you a little bit. But I don't know, maybe somebody has some cedar or some dirt smelling toothpaste. If not, I'm sure that's something somebody will come up with soon. I know they got cedar gum, but just remember in your head, there's natural toothpaste that are out there also. So the more natural you stay, the less scent will affect your hunt. So when you go to ask yourself that question, or you get worried about a situation, stop, calm down for a second, and think, is this something that is already found in the woods on a day-to-day basis? Is this a smell that another animal could produce? Is this a smell that, is in here 9 times out of 10 on the days? There's certain situations where diesel doesn't affect it because you're hunting an area where a diesel tractor is in there 2-3 times a week, and that might be a smell they're used to. If it's a smell that the animals in your area are used to, you're going to be okay. If it is not, you need to take the proper precautions to fix that prior to going in there, and that will save you when it comes to animals smelling you or smelling whatever it is that you're bringing into the woods. That's my take on that subject. It's worked for me. Very few instances in my life have I been busted by a deer's nose when using that method or that process of thinking that stuff through. Also, not a bad idea to spray down always, but you're not going to spray down your breath. You're not going to spray down your pee. You're not going to spray down pooping or farting or whatever in the blind. So those are kind of the topics that usually get brought up the most. I think they're really good topics to discuss. A lot of times it gets turned into a joke and nobody can take it serious before you actually get an actual answer. My answer is all those things are natural. All those things are already found in the woods. And I think that it's a-okay to do that stuff in the area that you're going to be. I don't think you need to hike out a mile to go take a whiz. Matter of fact, I do it right there in the blind, or step right out of the blind and do it out of the back of the blind. Never once have I had an issue with that. If you agree, leave a comment. If you disagree, leave a longer comment, because everybody that disagrees always writes more than the people that do agree. Smash the like button if you get a chance, and we would sure appreciate it, so that nobody doesn't have to continue sponsoring us, if you would go ahead and click subscribe or share this video with your friends. As always, leave a comment below if you have another topic that you would like us to discuss on here. I sure appreciate the 100 of you guys that are going to watch this, and if you need anything, let me know. I'm always willing to help you guys out. See you on the next one.